Blog Talk Radio.
Everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. So we are on live and we're ready. So what we're talking about is boosting self-love, removing codependency, and becoming more resilient and having strategies to do so. So we're doing modules 8 and 9 today. And I wanted to make sure we had action-packed series, plus we're on Clubhouse, and so we are ready. Let's go. So with that being said, I wanted to make sure everybody understood that the ground rules are that we're going to be very, very, very professional here, and we're going to make sure that we talk about the different things that we have in our subject matter today, stay on topic, and also we have our giveaway on here. If you put pound IAM SELF, you will get a free coaching. That is our giveaway. You get a free coaching and a journal. So I want to explain to you guys exactly what's been going on before we get into the nitty-gritty of the show. I have created some new materials and things like that for the coaching business as well as for children, adolescents, and adults. I want to show you guys these different things that we have going on. I just found my first book, and I wanted to go show you guys everything that we've done with the coloring books. And this is for our children, adolescents, and adults. I want you guys to see all of that, and that's at the IMCC, and that is imcccoaching.com as well as cc-nichedeprimables.com. So definitely go over there and get that. And you may also go over there to our Etsy shop, and you may get our coloring books in that for us, by us, and these are books inspirational for children, activity books to do different things. Let me show it to you guys. Let you guys see it. All kind of activities and things like that for you to be able to do. And this is for children, adolescents, young adults. And in this book, it has a little bit of everything. It's the Afro-American Dream Kids coloring book, and it's curated and created by me. And so it has dot-to-dot, got mazes, all kind of different things like that. Fun stuff for you guys to be able to do. So I just found 2 of my books. The other one is for adults. But I want you guys to see all the little things and inspiration for children, adolescents, young adults. So that's on sale at imcc.com, IMCC Coaching, and as well as teamworld.online for children, adolescents, and adults. These are the things that you get in the coaching business to sit down with your children and be able to do things together in the family room or while you're waiting to be seen. Here's the other one, and this is for adults, and this is the Afro-American Dream coloring book, curated and created by myself. And I want you guys to see the book that I created. I just found this book and everything else, and this is what is on sale over there at Etsy, as well as IMCC Coaching, imcc.com. And this is still things like that has inspiration for us, by us, and then I will be creating those also that are race and sex. So this is all the different things that it has on there. It has little things like aim for the peak level in life, winner's circle, make a difference by day, work on a goal, create your success story. Little things like that. Just like this one that says, I am intelligent, little things like that, things that will help you guys be inspired to get out and do something. Don't let the world pass you by. Part of Team World online, all the different things. So we've got things like that for the family and coloring books like that. So I'll have those available in the coaching practice, coaching business. I just want you guys to see the new little project that we have going on before we get into the content today. And the content today, again, is on boosting self-love, removing codependencies and codependent behaviors, and moving into resiliency. Part of the reason why we're doing this in our initiatives at teamworld.online, children, adolescents, and adults, and for IMCC, as well as for a level and depth of Don Diva coaching, is that you guys begin to understand that resiliency is everything. And, you can be in a kerfuffle of losing yourself in a relationship, losing yourself in a marriage, losing yourself in your identity and your job, and not moving towards progress and progression. Part of the reason why I like for everybody to understand what progress and progression means is that we get to a point that we can have a point of contention to grow from. You cannot grow being in the same place or the same mindset. Part of that is that people don't understand that mindset is everything. If you continue to do the same thing and you expect a different result, that is the definition of insanity. And I want you guys to understand that from that viewpoint, that mindset, and also go into it with a level of wanting to be resilient and not be redundant and be able to get to where you need to be at. So IamCCCoaching.com is the regular appointments. DonDivaCoaching.com is for regular appointments. And Online for children, adolescents, young adults is for children, adolescents, young adults, and families. And then IamCC.com is for specialty appointments. And you may square Cash App for IamCC Coaching, and then you can do it for also Don Diva Coaching, or you may do it for Team World, and then a $sign in the front. And you are more than welcome to do that. And you may donate to Talk Radio, our talk radio station, which is what supports us in our radio endeavors and our efforts. It's like the dream and the goal is to eventually be a board-certified psychiatrist, psychologist, forensic psychiatrist, psychologist, and be MD next. I got my paperwork and everything else that shows me what's going to be for my insurance and all that. So like I told you guys, that is the end goal. So I'll be graduated. It'll be 5 years, and I'll be done. But like I told you guys, I am definitely working towards those goals, so I'll be MD next eventually. And if I'm married, my name will change. I told you guys, it is one of the type of things that I have a lot of goals and things that I want to do in life. Part of that is stating those goals, manifesting those goals, and moving towards manifestation, manifest destiny, laws of attraction. So I wanted to talk to you guys about all of that before we get into laws of attraction, which is our next set of modules and things like that. But part of this was making sure that we survive our cycles of addictive cycles of codependency on others for inclusion, acceptance, and things like that, and be open-minded and begin to journal and begin to write down our thoughts and begin to make them manifest. And sometimes putting them in writing helps us to keep ourselves adhered to that. And reflect on how we lose ourselves in relationships, whether it's business, personal, or it's a combination of both, or acquaintanceship. And I was listening to this song by Nelly Furtado when I was sitting in the car with my mother. And I told you there's ups and downs with me and my family, but the thing is I always try to go towards conflict resolution and things like that. I share these things with you guys because we all have different things that go on in our life. And part of that is being able to understand it and being able to understand it from that viewpoint, and also being able to go and move towards a greater light and a greater purpose. And creative writing and exercises like that help you to do that, and it also helps you to become a better person and be able to understand it from that mindset and nomenclature. So that's the reason why I had you guys go through creative writing. And understanding the art of mindfulness through words and writing. Because if you can relate to the following that we talked about before the other day, which I'll go back over it, was the levels and depths. Do you lose yourself in certain ways? Do you take care of others more than yourself? Do you make sure that you are always making sure everybody else is happy, but are you making yourself happy? Are you centered, calm, and sitting in an inner peace and a place of growth, or are you sitting in experiences of heartbreak, orchestrated disorder or loss and rejection? Are you sitting in a level of that, or, what we call sabotage or saboteur or provocateur? And we have agents of chaos all around this world, and sometimes it could be the people that we're closest to. So you need to find yourself fully present in the here and now and validating and affirming that, and make sure that you feel like you are good enough for yourself, not just for others. Because part of the problem is that we have an easing and a soothing of the mind when we're making sure everybody else is happy, but we're not happy ourselves. So part of that is affirming that, and that we're good enough to be happy and self-care ourselves and become more resilient and resiliency strategize. So I'm going to let everybody in on the Clubhouse. I'm going to give you guys the link to that so that you guys can come on in. You're more than welcome to do so. And I told you guys I'm all about business, and I'm all about making sure that we do everything that is possible to grow the business. So you may drop in at my Clubhouse, and you may follow me there, and I appreciate all the support. Sometimes you have to go small, start big. It happens to the best of us. So I don't care if I have an audience of 1 to an audience of 2,000. Eventually I'll grow there, and it'll get there from here. But I'm just beginning, and like I told you guys, my Clubhouse is a new, like-minded thing, and I love to have it. And so welcome to my Clubhouse. You're more than welcome to do that, and you're also welcome to follow me on IAM Coaching on Instagram, and you're also welcome to follow me on IAM Coaching on Twitter. Although I told you guys I'm not a big fan of certain platforms because of what I went through, but we're not here to discuss that. Again, you can call 833-IMCC or 833 for my appointment or 833-book-me-too. And like I told you guys, I've taken some lines down for right now because I had a lot of people playing on the phone. So that's the reason why it's like that. So you may email me for appointments. You can get at me on the website and do all of that. I told you I've been dealing with a lot of trolling, a lot of things that are misguided, miscommunicating, abusive and divisive on platforms and things like that. So I'm just curtailing all of that to make sure that I have good presentation and things like that. So with that being said, let me go ahead and get everything situated so I can post a link And you may go to IMCC Coaching, and you may follow me on my Clubhouse. And you're more than welcome to do that. I'll be taking callers on there, and I'll also be taking people on the actual show, which you can call in live and do. So you may call in live 515-602-9765, and Cash App Love offerings are accepted. $ IMCC Coaching, $ Don Diva Coaching, $ Thing World Online, and then $ Talk Radio Diva with the Talk Radio Diva CC, the power to do more. And I am your life coach for today. So welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get straight to it. Give me just one moment while I post the link for our Clubhouse, and it'll be right there for you guys. And I told you guys, the more important thing in this world is to make sure that we always bring you fresh new content, and part of that is making sure that it's curated correctly, and I'm really glad that we're actually starting to have more safe lives. I've had a lot of trolling and a lot of things that are just unacceptable. Let me get in here, just to start up, and we are good to go. All right. And I'll tell you a bit about Clubhouse while I'm doing this. Clubhouse is a drop-in audio station and as well as a social media platform. It is growing exponentially, and I absolutely adore it. It is great for me, and emotionally it has been a lot better because it's something that helps me to be able to do what I need to do for my clientele and also with like-minded people who have great mindsets and are willing to be professional and things like that. That's something that I was looking for at all points in time, and this is perfect for me and also for the coaching as well as a way for me to meet with you guys, and you guys get to know me authentically and the real true self, and I literally feel good about it. So I want you guys to understand that. One moment, y'all. Alrighty. So now we're back. I got it posted. It's on IMCC Coaching, and that's on Facebook. And like, share the page, subscribe to my Facebook, and that is IMCC Coaching, Don Diva Coaching, and TeamWorld.online, and that is up at Team World Online on Facebook, and also Talk Radio Diva, and you will be able to get this live audio presentation there. So, again, thank you so much for showing up and showing out. You guys are amazing. So, like I said, let's get on into it. So we talked about all these different things and the exercises to do because sometimes we do lose ourselves. And then we think about the art of mindfulness and moving towards that. And through work, we can begin to do that. And if you can relate to any of the following that we're going to talk about, then you'll understand why I said it's important to go assess your relationship, whether business, personal, professional, or a level of both or acquaintanceship. So how do you lose yourself? And these are things that I want to ask you guys in statements and as well as to get your minds going and to begin to think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and how you conduct yourself in your relationships, whether business, personal, workplace, or online, and things like that. So ask yourself, do I tend to put others' needs ahead of my own for fear they might have me for fear of neglecting them instead of neglecting or taking care of my needs? And so when you think about that, if you think a person is going to put you in a position to where you have to neglect or leave yourself or leave your true self and in order for their needs to be met, but you're neglecting your own needs, ask yourself, do I do this? Then ask yourself, have I neglected any of my friends, my family, my career, my interests, even my health, or the opportunity, or entering into a fear of acceptance, inclusion, or a seat at the table, or at the cost of an ongoing relationship, or has it costed me relationship? Ask yourself that. Because part of this is being able to frequently look at the level of a person's potential as in business, finance, and then also on a personal note, a person's romantic partner, and then on top of that, relationships and dating and things like that, or offboarding from a dating relationship that's otherwise poisonous or not good. So when we think about all these different things, do I frequently fall into the layers of a potential of an acquaintanceship, business, or a personal, or anything in between in the marital vows and things like that, things that a lot of us do, and we lose ourselves in doing so. So I want you guys to understand how important that is, because sometimes we begin to worry about the fear of our partner or our partnership or our business acquaintanceship that they won't accept us as we are. So we constantly feel disappointed by that person, and it develops what we call resent, a level of resentfulness to the point that you begin to feel like that person's changed you or altered you, or you've altered yourself for that person so that they're happy, but you're becoming more miserable and unhappy. It begins to unnerve us. So whether you are in a long-term relationship or just recently met someone or got acquainted with someone, you shouldn't find yourself feeling anxious, suspicious, or panicky when they fail to return any level of what we call communication factors or level of decency and reciprocal interaction. And I want you guys to understand that there's no fear of that person not loving you and caring for you, because there should be no conditions when it comes to that. It's kind of like that song by Lupe Fiasco. I like it. It's like, you are what you say you are, a superstar, have no fear. It's something like that, right? So when you think about all of this, right, you should have no fear when, the lights are shown. So when somebody's around you and, you shed light on the things that you want out of them or you want in an acquaintanceship or business, you think about all of this, and, I was all, I told y'all I'm not like a whole level of a superstar, but I just wanted to get it like in the tune of my head. But you guys understand what I'm saying. But when we're talking about a level of you're trying to get out there and you're trying to be the star of your own life and your own light, and you begin to carve out your niche and your journey, right? Part of our experiences are what go and evolve in all of that in our interaction. So with that being said, do I feel overly dependent of someone or an acquaintance or a significant other, or do I feel like I can't survive without them or their approval if I decide to put boundaries there, if I decide to move into a level of growth or growth patterns? So I want you guys to understand that. And then I want you guys to understand, am I continuously choosing unavailable people, whether it's due to their own emotional unresponsiveness, or is it a personal circumstance, or is it a level of their own personal marriages, their own engagements, their own culture or sexual identity? Is it other things that are causing these factors when we're talking about breakdown in communication or breakdown in acquaintanceship or breakdown in professional interaction? Part of that goes into workplace and supporting and things like that, and support is everything. No man or no woman is an island, right? So when we think about this, whatever you identify as, and this is to include all people, all walks of life, LGBTQIQ, QIA, and as well as heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, transsexual, asexual, intersex, and all. So when I tell you, I try to make anyone a partner in my life or a partner in projects or things that I'm trying to do, or of what I want to do in a level of teamwork is the dream work or getting things done. So supporting a person financially or creatively, giving them my entire recognition or level of validation or encouragement is something that you should reciprocally expect from someone. And it doesn't matter whether or not a person supports you, because sometimes you're not going to get support. I want you guys to understand that. But is it required, or is it something that you should have? Yes, you should have a level of reciprocal levels of support. Part of that is like the signal. If the signal is weak and things like that, just like an IT tech tampering with cable or tampering with signals and things like that, things I've been dealing with. I want you guys to have an example of what we call degradation or invalidation or provoking and gaslighting. Things like that do not help business but create a level of distraction in business. That is why there's a level and layer of sometimes you have to go into a level of validation, recognition of abusive people. You have to go into a level of validation, recognition of people who do not encourage you, people who invalidate you, people who provoke, people who gaslight, B, T, and E, people who like to do nasty things, or V, Ivy Rock, or people like that, Ranger T6, people who have the ability to abuse, provoke, and gaslight, but they're in positions of power to do it. I want you guys to understand the levels of jealousy, the levels of rejection, or levels of insecurity within those people, the levels of darkness and the shadow of their selves, who really, they are shapeshifters, people who do not shapeshift into positive levels, but levels of out of order, divisive, abusive behavior, passive-aggressive, narcissistic behavior, people who will continue their levels of feeling like they possess all the power you cannot, or they cannot share the spotlight or cannot share the stage, because that greed-driven, that level of nastiness, that level of disorder, that level of brokenness, level of shadow, shape-shifting, that they shape-shift into everybody else instead of themselves. Those are people who are lost, miserable, or kind of really nasty, or do a lot of word salad, wordplay, or toxic things. Things I've been dealing with in my profession, in personal life, and dealing with people like that are very degrading and very what I would call personal circumstances that create the level of animosity, hostility, or they create a level of reaction because of their bullying, their abusiveness, their divisiveness, or disorderly misconduct, or divisive throwing rocks and hiding their hands. That's B, T, and E, and Ivy for rocks. The people that like to play these kind of nasty games, but when they get called out, they like to bully and harass and provoke and gaslight. I've been dealing with that for a long time. But, again, that's not what we're here for. I want you guys to understand there's a level of jealousy, projection, and a level of possessiveness and nastiness and greed-driven motive behind people like that. So I want you guys to understand experiencing the feelings of those possessions or jealousy or rejection or levels of insecurity or greed or miserable nasty misconduct on those part of those people. That's a level of workplace violence or emotional violence or what we call psychological or technological warfare and abuses and divisiveness and distraction or agents of chaos and provocateur. So I want you guys to understand all of that while we're talking about boosting the self-love and removing codependency or levels of moving towards resilience and things like that. And part of that is not addressing these type of trolls, not addressing these type of nasty people, not addressing these type of greed-driven people who have power and ability to do these type of things, but moving forward in all that. I wanted to give you a prime example of that because whether you're married, engaged, or culturally in an environment, or if you're in a workplace, organization, or anything like that, it's never the organization, it's the people. It's just like a community. If the community is poisonous or your environment is poisonous or a level of BT and E that's hampered with cars or AC in it, then there's a level layer of divisiveness, orchestrated, provoking, gaslighting, abusiveness, and those are people who have to be made ashamed and then put and humbled at a level that is higher to meet. So when we understand all these different things, we have to look at, do I make people a partner in my project or in supporting them and things like that, and financially or creatively and giving my entire recognition while they're doing everything to invalidate or provoke and gaslight or not encourage or be greed-driven or not mindful or, they do things to make a level of failure or upset or reactionary response. And that's something that you have to learn in professionalism and in your interest in your personal life to manage when you're dealing with people who are what we call of a lower vibration or a greed-driven vibration or abuse of power authority vibration. That happens in all organizations. It doesn't matter what it is. So it's not the organization, it's the people and the leadership and management. And sometimes management is an epic failure, especially when people do not want to join organizations or be around people in organizations due to the nature of people in the ranks that abuse their power and position of authority. So I wanted to give you guys an understanding why sometimes it's okay to reject a level of inclusion and things like that, and examples of not having insecurity but having security in self and a level of feeling good about yourself to where if you feel like it's a poisonous tribe or poisonous members or people who are creating a level of animosity, hostility, then you feel like you're not aligned or equally yoked with that, then it may not be the organization, it's the people, and therefore it's not good for you mentally, emotionally. So I want you guys to understand that in my entire recognition of that and us having that conversation. Because part of boosting self-love and removing codependency is removing the want and desire to be included or inclusion in a poisonous tribe of people who are amongst the ranks that are making it worse for other people. So due to a level of emotional unresponsiveness or a personal circumstance that creates these levels of hostility and animosity because these people refuse to see themselves in the mirror and mirror the self. Like I said, we have to do the shadow work and the shape-shifting work, but not to be stuck in shape-shifting, which is what narcissists do or passive-aggressive people do, where they don't ever shape-shift to a better person. They continue their low vibrational, dysfunctional behaviors, and they project it onto other people who are victims of them. So that's why I went over that about social media and how social media is a way for bullies to be able to victimize, provoke, and gaslight, like BT&E that did that, and all the provoking gaslighting that Ivy Truck and all her crew did, and things like that, until I spoke up. And then, in the beginning, it wasn't always a great response, but the thing is, I learned how to improve my argument. Part of improving that argument is being able to understand that some people are just nasty. They're nasty as all get out. They're never going to support you. And part of that is, that's why I said you don't need support all the time. Sometimes you are your best support. You're your biggest fan, your biggest cheerleader. So you may call in live 515-602-9765. You may cash that love offering, $IMCC Coaching, $Don Diva Coaching, $17 online, and then $Talk Radio Diva with Talk Radio Diva CC, the power to do more. And again, the power to do more is to continue to keep our phone lines open and also for you guys to be able to text our lines and things like that. And I told you guys you may text at 866-727-9323, and you're able to do that international. And you can also text 404-418-5104, and you're able to do that at all points in time. And I told you guys the phone lines are open for you to be able to call, and we are also in Clubhouse. So our room is Boosting Self-Love and Removing Codependency. So it's definitely posted on social media, so you'll be able to go there. You can join us and things like that, and I appreciate everybody that likes to come in. You can come in and listen, and then I'll open the stage for you guys to be able to talk on there if you'd like to. So, again, like I said, I wanted to make sure that we got all these different things to give you guys entire recognition. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, heart. And so, like I told you, part of getting recognition is also getting it as well. Even if you are feeling like there's no level of support and things like that, recognition and validation of your feelings is part of that and growth. And then encouragement. And, even if you fail to take care of yourself in your own interest, professional and personal, sometimes you have to stop, look, and listen and say to yourself in your mindset, it's just like an ultra level of reprogramming yourself. I always encourage people, it's nothing wrong with reprogramming the self. It's nothing wrong with resiliency. There's nothing wrong with a unified, abundant mindset and reprogramming yourself to become more illuminated in your Christos, your illuminated one, your light. So part of that is in our DNA. So when you look at the description and things like that and you begin to see that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. We all have our own DNA, RNA, all of our codex, our programs, our things that we were programmed with when we were born. So when we become a fly being and we come out of our mother's womb, we become that Christos illuminated one. What happens is as we grow, as we get experiences, as we become conditioned to other people's conditions, we get away from our normal programmatics. So that becomes our level of our chakra, our pineal gland, all those different things that we get, brainwaves, activity, output, input, external. We're talking about physiological. We're talking about biological. We're talking about levels of environment. All those factors go into a level of resiliency and being able to move towards strategy. So I wanted to go into that so that we have an understanding that of productivity and life-inspiring enhancement and reducing stress levels while going toward the level of fulfillment. And part of that is, do you know your purpose? Do you know exactly where you're going in life? Do you know exactly where you want to be? So that's what Module 8 is all about, because you don't want to feel a mountain of agitation or failure in your partnerships or relationships or acquaintanceships, or, you don't want to make contact with people who are already broken in their own levels and things like that, and you don't want to be stuck in that level of inertia or a level of suspended in the air. It's almost like you just cannot get anywhere because you're around people who are broken themselves. So part of that is whether it's amongst the ranks within your organization or whether it's a level of outside of your organization, if it's in your community, if it's in your family. You have to begin to make that contact and begin to express all the long absence of the illuminated Christos within you and the things that you have and the boundaries that you have or the rules and regulations that work for you. Part of what we all do is we lose the self in others. We lose the self in our agreements to go into organizations and things like that, and it doesn't matter what organization it is. I'm not talking about any specific organization. It could be industry. It could be non-industry. It could be anything within your community. We all have a culture, cultura, a culture environment, and the word, in the Latin word, is culture or cult. Culture. So you take the root word earth and cult, and you put it together, and you've got cultura, and that is the root word Latin. So I want you guys to understand that Greek mythology, Latin, all that go together. So when you look at the history books and things like that, you're learning from everything that I'm presenting and a level of a layman's terms. I just want you guys to be on point and up to speed and understand what I'm talking about. Because sometimes some people are like, what are you doing? What do you mean? So that's what it means, okay? So as soon as you meet someone and you begin to realize you have a level of established orientation to them, you do not want to get to a level of destabilization or disorient or level of disorder. So part of that is understanding all of that and mental health, emotional health. And then when you begin to have an intense desire to be around people or attached to an organization, whether it's industry, non-industry, or whether it's in your environment. So that's your culture, cultura. So I want you guys to understand that. So we are all illuminated. We all have a level of resilience. We all have a level of DNA. Our programmatics are illuminated. Grease those I am. So I am the self. I am somebody. So I want you guys to understand all of that in this conversation and that we have that level of understanding, and then we begin to look at the levels of the full attention that we have for ourselves, but we also crave our attention of our environment or organization or reassurance, and giving responsibility to our emotional well-being needs to be with ourselves. So part of our responsibility, let me take this off the screen right quick. Part of our social responsibility is being able to understand all of that before we get to strategy and boundaries and being able to be resilient and all of that, because life throws us lemons. And when life throws us lemons, guess what? We've got to go take that lemon, catch it, and squeeze it, and we begin to have lemonade. So it's just like I said, fuck her up, buttercup. Squeeze that lemonade. You go put some sugar, honey, iced tea, and begin to make you a good, wholesome iced tea with some lemonade on top, and you sit back and you take that sustenance and that goodness, and you say, I'll make life what it is, and I'll make it. So like I said, no matter what life throws at you, if it throws you lemons, you make the lemonade. If it throws you oranges, you make the orange juice. You've got to get to a point that you become more resilient and able to get back on your feet. You fall down 7, you get up 8. You fall down 8, you get up 9. You fall down 9, you get up. Every successful person has been thrown these lemons and things like that, but they made some lemonade and sugar, honey, iced tea that life threw at them, and it begins to make them something that begins to make them who they are. So I want you guys to understand that it's part of that in online, offline, and in agency, and also with the levels and layers of leadership and management, and amongst the ranks as you rank up in life and do things in life, you begin to look at all the things that are put forth in our life, like our Constitution, our oath, all the things that we sign for. Like I signed an oath to protect against enemies, foreign and domestic, and that includes us to family, that includes us to relationships, that includes us to acquaintances. So when I thought about this and when I had my oath and things like that, and I signed it, I signed to be self-evident that I am, defending against enemies, foreign and domestic, but I also meant also the shadow self, the former self, and those that want me to stay where I was at, those that don't want me to grow, those that don't want my light to shine because they know it shines bright like a diamond. So when we think about this, diamonds are formed under pressure, correct? Diamonds are formed under a level of sand and glass, right? So you have to think about those shards of glass, and you got to think about that sand. And once it goes and moves together and there's pressure, it formulates a beautiful diamond, correct? So it's like we're all a diamond in the rough. Our I am Christos are shine bright like a diamond, right? So when we think about all of this, we become more illuminated as we begin to look at these different statements and say to ourselves, what am I doing? Take a moment. Let me close my eyes. Let me begin to breathe in deeply and begin to see and help myself relax and let go. Part of this is let go is that we have to let go of our former self. We have to let go of what we've been acclimated to or conditioned to and get back to our true self, our illuminated self, our illuminated one, our Christos, which means I am for short, or I am self. So I want you guys to understand those 5 statements and things like that. I want you guys to understand it from a set of independent individuality and emotional levels of attraction and the laws of attraction and how you attract others to you. But your vibe is only alongside of your tribe as well. So your tribe's vibration has to vibrate higher, lift up higher like this, and it has to go to a level of hierarchy, or what I would call a pyramid, a hierarchy that goes up, behavioral, environmental, then link up with a level patternistic behavior, connect the dots, and you begin to look at your pyramid of I am Christos, your foundation, your layers, things like that. As everybody throws something at you, you begin to take that foundation of bricks that are thrown at you, you begin to make that layer. You put a little slab, you put a little bit of clay, you put another brick up there, you do another one, until you get to the top peak, and you begin to see your I am self at the top peak of that. That's in medicine. That is in science. That is in all of those different things. So we're all born with it. We just lose ourselves over a period of time. So the intense physical and emotional levels of loss and attraction are real. You have to think about the energy you put out is the energy you get, but sometimes that's not always true. Sometimes you're getting energy from the broken parts of you that is coming from others who are projecting their brokenness onto you, and it breaks you further. So with our conditioning that happens as we grow up, become a child, adolescent, young adult, and then we become an adult and we begin our legacy, we have to start thinking about all these different things, and we have to look at our approach. We have to look at all the approaches that people have with us, and we have to begin to look at the free flow of our thoughts and the process of that. So I want you guys to understand all of that in that, and then we can get into the levels of, looking back in retrospect, because a lot of people never want to look back. A lot of us look back in anger. But do we ever look at a particular situation and acknowledge the hurt, the pain, the upset, or do we ever look at what we can use in that energy and what we can gain from that knowledge from that? Or can we gain and turn it around and create a way of helping ourselves become more resilient? Or can we find a way to help ourselves heal and heal the former self or the shadow self and go to our real self, our illuminated self, our Christos, our illuminated one? And with that being said, I want you guys to understand the level of triggered emotional upset or pain and suffering that we all go through. So part of that journey is beginning to acknowledge that pain and that suffering and begin to get the help, whether it's going to a life coach, whether it's going to a business coach, whether it's going to a mentor, whether it's going to a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, all of the above that sometimes required, because there are some people who refuse to go to a doctor. There are some people who refuse to go on med management. There are some people who refuse to get help, and that's why some of us end up in a doctor's office to make sure we're not the one who's got a problem. And then when you find out from your doctor and you're like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you, there's something wrong with them. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Well, it's like there's nothing wrong with me, something wrong with you. So at that point, you don't want to point the finger, but you want to begin to hopefully begin to make boundaries. You want to hopefully move to a point of resilience past pain. I will tell you, trauma and pain does something to you. It changes you. It alters your mindset and how you react. I've been through it. I wanted to share these things with you guys because I want you guys to understand triggered emotional upset and healing levels of positivity affirmations help formulate an IAM self, or going back to our original self, because we're all altered by the time we're in our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, and our 50s. So life changes us. Experiences changes us. So when we think about all of this, we think about, when we're reminded of a friend who describes a form of, like, when I did martial arts, right? When we think about all this, we think about the opponent is stronger sometimes, or sometimes the opponent is faster or bigger, right? It's the same thing with the human life, human nature. There's always somebody bigger than us, someone who's stronger than us, someone who's faster than us, or somebody's always going to be our opponent in life. But it may seem like there's no way to win this confrontation with that person or that opponent or that battle with that opponent. But if you use the opponent's strength and speed and energy by redirecting it and begin to learn that opponent, begin to master that opponent, begin to master their mannerisms, and begin to look at it from the illuminated light and shedding light on their shadow self, their shadow shape-shifting, the things that they haven't grown from, you look at the weaknesses and you begin to hone in on what you need to do to beat your opponent. It's all about mind and matter, that pineal gland, the energy, that I am illuminated light. So when you think about all of this, you begin to change your attack and your defense, and you begin to defend yourself against your opponent, correct? That means improvement of argument, improvement of the self, and improvement of behavior mechanisms and reaction. So I want you guys to understand why I've been practicing this over the last couple of months, because I found myself in business losing a level of standing or stature because of dealing with people who were broken, shape-shifting, or what we call shadow, or what we call a level of brokenness within them that left me in a level of upset, uproar, anger, and feeling some type of way, because I was like, how is it that you're always winning at life, but you're the worst type of person? And I had to think about it. I was like, it's definitely not me. It's something that I'm not doing right, though, in reaction. So I took a couple of months, weeks, and, over a period of 6 months, I've done a lot of improvement. And I want to improve my argument. Here's the reason why. A lot of people were using the pain and suffering against me. A lot of people were using the levels and layers of hurt anger, the destructiveness that they have all created for a decade and overlapping 15 years, 12 years, intimate partner violence, technology abuse, all the provoking gaslighting and things like that. Each opponent that I had was using emotional deficits that I was born with. Things that, when you're not born with two chemicals, it causes you damage. The thing is, I'm autistic. There's nothing wrong with that. Hard to all my happy powers activate. So I try to tell you guys I have embraced being Asperger's. I have embraced the level of I have disabilities, and there's nothing wrong with that. So to all my disability people out there, there's nothing wrong with that. You can grow from it. You can be a great person even if you are disabled. And like I had from my child, she told me, Mommy, you're so cool. You make disabilities look cool. I said, what? She's like, you also make mental health look cool and behavioral health look cool. I said, what do you mean? She said, Mommy, you're the coolest person because, I hope the little girl will give you an experience. I was helping my daughter do something that was going on in private, but I'm not going to go into detail. But there was a little girl there, a little white girl. She was adorable, bug get out, but she had damage from a car wreck. And I'll tell you what stealing and levels of affirmation, how this works with our illuminated mindset and abundance mindset. The little girl was angry with her mother and reacting so much, and she ended up where I had to go see about my daughter, about some things that the kids were doing, bullying her, harassing her, provoking her, gaslighting her, like that, and my child broke down. So I had to go see about her. I'm a mama bear. Everything about baby bear, I'm not going to let my baby be all kind of messed up. I'm like, who did it? Who did it to my baby? It's mama bear right then, hands on your hips, and you're like, who did it to my child? So I took off the coach hat, and I'm on the mama bear hat, and I'm like, who did it? So at that moment, I had to realize that, I switched gears at that moment. But I was in still nurse mode, mom mode, chauffeur mode, human ATM mode, human every bit of her cheerleader, her number one fan mode. But I'm still mama bear. Who did it to my baby? So at that point, the little girl was mad with her mother. And it's kind of like that story, Llama Llama mad at mama. So the little girl sitting down there and Mom just doesn't understand. So I sat down and I talked to the little girl while talking to my daughter and getting her acclimated and straightened out and things like that. I didn't realize that a psychiatrist, psychologist, and an MSW were standing in the other room with a gorilla glass and looking in. They heard everything I said. And I said to the mother, she's like, I just don't understand my daughter. And I just try to pray this out of her. And I said, ma'am, you can't pray that out of your daughter because she is broken mentally. I said, do you realize she just had an accident and she's only 6 months out from a actual bad car accident that she almost died? This little girl's life flashed before her eyes, and therefore she's feeling some type of way that she is angry, and she's holding on to that anger. Her mind is broken. Think of it like a jigsaw puzzle, and that piece does not fit anymore. Her brain is scrambled. So at this point in time, she's got puzzles in her brain, and she's trying to go put these pictures back together of her life before all this happened. So she may have went through physical therapy, correct? She's like, yeah, she went through all these different things, yeah, to get back to normal, correct? But do you realize that her brain never got back to normal? It's going to take a long time. Her brain is hurt. Her brain body remembers all that, so she is acting out because of that, ma'am. And I said, ma'am, it's just like, looking through a glass window and you can't see your way out. She can't see her way out from that mentally, emotionally, and get herself past the life-changing, life-altering experience. Therefore, she's in a conundrum or kerfluffle of constantly being angry and upset because she almost died. So that anger is upsetting her. Plus, if she had a sibling that got hurt, there's a level of guilt, feels some type of way, and she's lashing out. She said, oh, my God, I understand now. And she said, can I give you a hug? And, y'all, I used to be all about hugging before I got hurt. And then I was like, I'm not a hugger. I'm not a heavy-tree friend. And I was like, I was like, oh, I guess so. I'm like, okay, hug this last week, hugs like that, elbow bump, like that. So that's my quirks, right? So I'm like, elbow bump, okay, hug. So this is before COVID, COVID. So at first I was like, okay, let me find a way so that we can, hug a little bit and I'll get comfortable. I'm not a hugger. But I used to be before everything happened. So this is the same thing. My brain broke. There's a level of tragic things that happened. There's a level of life endangerment. There's a lot of things that altered my life, altered self. So part of this is that when that happened, my brain broke. So it's kind of like, remember that commercial, this is your brain? But except for I'm not on anything. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't snort. I don't sell. I don't do none of that. But the thing is, this is your brain on damage. This is your brain on psychological damage. This is your brain on mental, emotional degradation. So the brain is broken. So it's just like being autistic. You remember as he speaks and things like that? Autism is the same thing. Your brain is wired different. So I am not neurotypical, but I'm neuroatypical. So I was able to explain it to her because I'm autistic. I understand because I went through levels and layers of terrorism, domestic abuse, and domestic violence. It altered me. And yes, I've been hit. I've taken combat hits, but sometimes I have good stuff. I'm like Batty Coda. Sometimes it's like, we want Batty Coda. You know, burn gully. And it's like, sometimes. But the thing is, I've embraced all the dinginess, and I've embraced sometimes I'm an airhead. I can't help it. It happens. But my quirks are what make me me, right? My quirks are what makes me a phenomenal coach, correct? What makes me everything that I am. So, in my I Am Abundance mindset, and I'm talking to this mother, I didn't know that a psychiatrist, psychologist, and MSW were looking at me through the Gorilla Glass. So when I was talking to her and the mother finally understood that she cannot pray this brokenness out of her child, that she has to go and do the work, the shadow work, and all the things that need to be done in mental health and behavioral health to help her daughter. So she was like, ma'am, I wanted to thank you. And then when the psychiatrist, psychologist came in there, they were like, you did a phenomenal job. You should be a psychiatrist, psychologist. You're good at this. And you're good with children. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm not here to do work. I'm here as Mama Bear, you know? And that's when my child said, Mommy, you make mental health cool, you make emotional health look cool, and you make therapy seem easy. I told her, I said, because I've been in y'all's shoes, baby doll. I've been where y'all are at. I know what it feels like to be broken. I know what it feels like to have things resulting in a negative way in your life. I know what it's like to feel like you're alone and by yourself. But the thing is, resiliency and strategies were to get the help, going to group, going to therapy, things like that help me reacclimate and not be a hermit. Yeah, I was a hermit. I wouldn't stick my head out the door. I ended up getting me a support animal, and that was Asthma Hound. And the reason why I call him Asthma Hound, he does this. That's my baby. Okay? So that's my rendition of my Chihuahua, for short. So, She-Nation out here. She-Nation in the fact. So, I have a Chihuahua, Asthma Hound. So, with that being said, I learned how to reacclimate back to life. I also went back to school. I went and got my associate's degree. I went and got my bachelor's degree. I did that in 4 years. So when I tell you that as a disabled person and I went to disability support services and I managed to graduate, I will tell you guys why I'm so proud of graduation. It's not about the degree. It's the fact that I was able to do it. My brain was broken. I was broken. I was mentally, emotionally down bad. And, you know, it took a Navy man to come in my life. It took my mother. It took my sister, who is like a wounded warrior herself and 2 tours of duty in Iraq and almost going to a third one, a little of a warrior that she is. And I told you that there's a lot of family dysfunction that happened because of what happened to me. 10 years worth of things that degraded my life, degraded my ability to do business, things that economically put me down bad, things that, like, literally sometimes I want to cry about it, but they say once you don't cry anymore, you're in a place of healing. And that's where healing and affirmation comes in. So with that little short story, I want you guys to understand that it's possible to become more resilient, and self-love is part of it, rebuilding the self, the I am former self, not the person that you go into and be conditioned to and other people's wants or beliefs. So when you think about an incident that triggers an emotional pain or suffering or brokenness of the mind, think of it like the autism, or think about it like, a level of a puzzle piece in a jigsaw puzzle, and it doesn't fit anymore because it's warped. So that's the makings of the mind. I want you guys to understand all that and removing self-love from a level of loving other people more than you love yourself, and then your codependencies. So that's just like the opponent's strength, the speed, the energy, and redirecting it, and redirecting your response and mechanisms, and changing your attack and your defense so that you can begin to go and not attack that person in a professional manner, but begin to go from a place of improving your argument or your stance to defend yourself and move forward. So I've done all that. So when a person hits you with their brokenness or their out-of-order behavior, divisiveness, you move aside and push them in the same direction, correct? So when somebody's coming at you in this direction, right, you go you know? So when you're looking at that, you're moving that energy, that inertia, and you push them aside to that same direction that they're moving because it causes them to fall over. It's the same thing in moving strategically in the mind. You want someone to begin to fall in your direction instead of their direction. And by redirecting energy in their attack and denying that level of a brute assault and force that they're doing, just like the bullying, the harassment, the provoking, the gaslighting online, you begin to go with little effort to turn things around and begin to go into a level of strategy and begin to move forward. And as a person who's done martial arts myself, I will tell you there's a level of discipline in all of that and walking away from some people, letting go of those type of people, or letting go of people who constantly attack or find ways to attack or throw rocks, hide their hands. That's why I did what I did earlier in my presentation about all the things in social media being a platform for people to use to abuse people. And that's the only place where a victim gets victimized even further when they ask for help or go to the help. So I want you guys to understand that. And in the energy in their attack, you begin to deny it, block it, poof, poof, you know, like that. And you begin to go and you take that energy and you begin to bring that inertia around and begin to go and build into yourself and turn things all the way around. So I want you guys to see that in my work and the work that I've done online. I took a high risk in doing that. I surely did. Because I could have lost a lot of you guys. And some of you people I actually put off of social media because some of y'all have accounts where those some of the degrading accounts, and some of y'all even made fake accounts and continue following me and doing all your nastiness online, including us through Dr. Jeff Taylor in the UK. There's a lot of people who did a lot of things and thought it was funny to be nasty and passive-aggressive on social media, so I'm calling them all out because you don't do this type of stuff or play in somebody's face and do all these things that have been done. But I want you guys to understand that even people who are in positions of power and authority who are supposed to be to help aren't helpful. There are a lot of people who are therapists that you have to check them at the front door. You have to check their narcissism. You have to check their ego, the ego trips that some people have that are supposed to be to help. So that's the reason why I wanted to have this conversation. So we're going to move into Module 8 so that we can go over all of that. And that is the last module in the self-love part, and then we're going to go into boundaries. So when we think about chapter or Module 8 and all of this that we've been going through all these modules, I want you guys to understand the creative ways to boost self-love. Part of that is meditation, organization, discipline. All the things I just got through talked about, purification, diet, and are huge benefits. But we also look at the very still lifelessness of many people, and we look at the levels of despite necessity. A lot of people forget to do all this stuff. This is part of the self-care resiliency part of this module. So this is Module 8, and we're moving into Module 9 smoothly, and where we're talking about boundaries. So we're going to go into that part. Because part of this is also beginning the strategic planning and resiliency, which we're going to do boundaries and resiliency as our further levels of depth of perception and law of attraction. Because we're going to move into all of that tomorrow. But I want you guys to get a whole level presentation during this month, in this month of what we call Mayday, of breakthroughs and a level of one small step series. So I want you guys to understand all of that and why we're doing it. So with all of that, also, I want to tell you guys about our giveaway. When you put #IAMCC, it's a giveaway to get free coaching from me, and that is for you to get a one-to-one special presentation with me and be able to go and see if you like my coaching services, and then if you would like to book afterwards, but you'll have a free session from me. So you'll go put #IMCC. That is in the comments, and all you have to do is put #IMCC, then I'll draw names, and then there will be a winner, plus you'll get a journal of your choice. So part of our giveaways that we have and we have on our stream. So it's possible for you to be able to do that. So put #IMCC and in the comments, and then I will pull names. Yay! All right. So when we think about this, we think about aesthetic practices, and that means our outer practices, not just the inner work. So we have to enjoy a journey of a lifetime, and we begin to look at the literally things that we're doing to make ourselves happy. So part of that is that intensity in doing so, creativity and imagination, the hallmarks of self-love. Because authenticity and originality are part of it. And creativity can come from inside of us. But as stated in our beginning of our shadow work, our work that we have to do to begin to get there, down to our creative, our spiritual, and our physical centers due to pressure to conform, we have to go and unconform to a certain degree and begin to go back to our original self to conform and become more aligned with our tribe, our organization, whether it's industry, non-industry, or regular community that we align with, okay? So, again, I align with industry. I align with the different principles of things like that because I'm a product of industry. But at the end of the day, I begin to look at the I am self and the illuminated self, the DNA that I was born with, and begin to go shed light on the former self and go back to the real me, the happy me, the one that is actually pleasant, the one that's peaceful, the one that you see right now. So the challenge lies in opening up these faculties that we have and we've lost at a later stage in life. So part of that is people copy each other all the time, okay? Most of our society consists of copycats, so you don't want to die a copy. You want to be an original, correct? But you want to live. You don't want to be a walking eyes wide shut and be out there as what we call blinders on and being a copy of someone else. You want to conform enough to get along, to feel along, to get along, but you also want to be yourself, authenticity. And we have also a program of the authentic self and loving the authentic self, and I'll give you guys that, and you're able to book it on imcc.com and imcccoaching.com, specialty appointments, or dondivacoaching.com. So, and then we'll also be able to get it at teamworld.online for children, adolescents, and adults. And I'll have the do-it-yourself program, or you can do it with me. This is why you should stay away from prescriptive formulas for success. Here's why. Everybody has their own prescriptions, just like medical and things like that. We all take prescriptions and things like that as we're prescribed. So when we think about all of this, there is no RX prescription in life. There's a level of formula for success, but it's just like a guideline. You cannot use, say, a famous person's success and mirror that and think that it's going to work out. You've got to make your own brand of success alongside of looking at what they've done, mimic it, but develop your own success formula because each success formula works for each person different. And because they are not your creation, that's the important point. So I want to get to those key top points. And then we look at the creative practices of beginning to go and build the self and resiliency and begin to build those boundaries. Because one of our biggest, most powerful things that we do for ourselves is to boost self-love in a way of a wild trip of a journey of resiliency and healing and affirmation and positive affirmation. And if you've never done this before, I'm helping you through it with this exercise and beginning to understand it through this module and presentation. So sometimes far outside of your comfort zone is a level layer of a key to unlock those doors. But it's like when you quit your job and travel the world, or when you go to a level of being an entrepreneur or entrepreneur or a serial entrepreneur like myself, and you begin to go and find your happiness is working for the self, and then beginning to build your empire and your business and doing the things that I was doing. But what happened is in between all that is life. Life threw me off course. People threw me off course because they're broken, they're miserable, they're nasty, they're disorderly, they're misguided, they're agents of philosophy, foolishness, their own selfish agendas. So when we look at all these things, it's guaranteed that we have to go back to our former self, our old self, our I am self, our illuminated self, the part of us that makes us us. So when we think about these variations alongside the same level of cooperation and a level of in excess of avenues or levels of emotion that we block off so we don't have to feel, so we don't have to hurt, that is not good. It's not healthy. So that is why you go see a therapist, psychiatrist, MSW, LSW, or PhD. Someone who can do the work with you, who can do the shadow work with you, who can do the formatted work with you to help you guide yourself back to your real self and become therapeutic. So that's why I'm a staunch advocate for med management and a level of eliminated shedding some light on different things and talking to someone. And a life coach is interim gap. We don't diagnose unless you're an MD or you're a psychiatrist, psychologist, things that I'm going to be doing. But I'm still not going to diagnose until I'm finished with my certifications and board acceptance and things like that. So again, like I said, I have my dream work, my framework, and the things that I plan on doing. So part of that is removing people who are not on Team CC, IAM CC. So when we think about all of these different things and we think about the shadow of the former self, and we think about those levels and layers, we have to think about inaccessible avenues and people who make it impossible. So impossible is nothing. You have to jump those hurdles, and we have to look at the attacks that people put on it. So I'm going to go over all of that first before we get into this part. So it's disappointing to travel down the same road with variations or things like that are happening and causing a level of attack to our true self. So part of that is within the lines of the same cooperation or corporation of ourself, our illuminated self, our Christos, our I am abundant mindset from a scarcity mindset. We begin to take the laws of attraction, put that in there, and then we begin to look at the wage increase. We look at our life increases. We look at the levels of our true life, our true self. And then we begin to typically no more than abstraction or look at things objectively to content ourselves and begin to look and move towards a level of satisfaction in our life instead of unsatisfying life. So we look at those ways in imagination, creative writing, art, martial arts, dancing, singing, cooking, traveling, doing things that help us to do that, anything that you love to do. So obviously this list is not exhaustive, but that is just a short example of the things that need to be done. There's room for creativity. There's room for a level and layer of logical subject matter or things like accounting, math, things that will help us to be able to build our skills, our skill sets. All the things that are helpful in our dynamic of building the self and building our skill sets and building our mindset, building our illuminated I am abundance mindset and becoming an asset instead of an ask. You get what I'm saying? So you want to be able to go and ask for help, but begin to look at the holes in your life. That's why I said ask hole. You have to begin to become an asset instead of a butthole. Yeah, I said it. So when we think about all the imagination that lies dormant within us, our creativity, our I am self, or our true self, it lies within textbooks, manuals written by someone else. But we begin to look at that text as a framework, a boundary, or a level of understanding. So when you go see a psychiatrist, psychologist, they all understand that. As I become a board-certified forensic psychiatrist, psychologist, and begin to look at caseloads and case studies and things like that, I'll be able to tell you guys from a scientific standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, or a level diagnosis standpoint, okay, of the brain. So when we talk about the brokenness in the brain and the self, we got to look at this creativity, lies in persistence, resiliency, and strategy. And not one single day do we not begin to look at habit change, one small step, breakthroughs, beginning to mayday, I need the help. I need to begin to look at the self. I need to build the former self back up from what I've been moved from and conditioned. So regardless of the activity, you have to look at your intuition. You have to look at the intuition as an incredible, underappreciated thing. Our gut. Every aspect of each individual is our I am programmatics that are in our gut, our pineal gland. All of that works together in our CNS, our central nervous system. Each individual holds the answer to our questions that need to be answered or relied upon. What happens is that we actually programmatically become conditioned to other people's acceptance, inclusion, or want, therefore, to become more reliant or codependent on them. So we have to remove those codependencies, flip that upside down, okay? We got to flip that pyramid upside down, right side up, and we begin to build the foundation back from what we were born with, our RNA, our DNA, our Christos, our illuminated I am self. So when we go and do that, the intuitive faculties and things like that have developed over a period of time are the reason why we have to begin to develop that. We largely evolve. A person detaches from a rational sense of self and processes associated with a strenuous level of mental thought. The things that we do in habit formulate over a lifetime. So we think it's 21 days to form a habit, correct? We went over this before. But it takes a lot of time to break that habit. So we have to think about the associated strenuous levels of mental thought, mental strength, and resiliency factors that become more diminished over time as we get conditioned to other people's levels of what they want versus what do I want. So, however, the mind is very limited and can actually process a small amount of information. I told you about 5 to 9 processes that you can process at a time. Once you hit 9 and 10, unless you're extremely good at multitasking, guess what? Good luck. Try to walk and chew gum at the same time. Good luck. So intuition and creativity and imagination are highly tightly linked. Then you think about the processes that we use to increase our creativity. We think about those different things, and we increase our intuitive power, our I am self, our gut instinct, our inner light. So our little beacon that's sitting right up here, our beacon that's sitting in our gut, and then on top of that, a level of energy. So you are the energy year-round. You are the energy, and your intuition is your biggest friend when it comes to life choices, life decisions, and habits. So there are thousands of ways to increase self-love, but there are only a few ways to perfect it at your specific time for yourself and your success formula. So once you guys understand that, it's easier for people to make it out of that once they understand that principle, and it really stands out as you think and work and go for it and begin to look at that, and don't dismiss your desires and goals as irrelevant, and stop being so available to others instead of yourself. Then you begin to look at there are a single greatest sign points that you have to look at, that is your intuition or stop signs, things that help us say, whoa there, stop. Hold up, Woody son. Hold up. What's going on? So when you look at that, you go for it and you begin to look at that and find something that you love to do. You begin to go and do that, and you begin to go self-care, mentally, emotionally build yourself back up, and your resiliency and your journey is that part. That's the beautiful part about our resiliency and our journey factor, is that it's just like that song I used to listen to, Journey. You begin to go on that level, that road, that level of a journey of acceptance of self, resiliency, and begin to build yourself back, and the body does remember all of that. But you've got to learn to be able to take off those layers, that upset, that uproar, the anger, the reactionary, and begin to move towards it. It is self-empowering to do all of that. And then when you love yourself and give yourself the level and depth of gift of doing what you do and love at 24 hours, 7 days a week, instead of doing what you don't like, or being around people you don't like, or talking to people who have to be removed from your life, then you begin to look at about what are you caring about. Do you care about the self? Do you love yourself? And do you think about others, and do other people think about you? And that's where boundaries come in. And it's the pinnacle of human achievement. And to be uniquely you without any extra input, but beginning to learn how to do that. And if you don't know how, go seek the help. Say, help, SOS, help. And go see a doctor, go see a therapist as interim gap, and then a life coach as interim gap when you can't see your doctor, and begin to go do the shadow work and become the shadow of the former self to the self, the true I am Christos, illuminated one, the inner light. Maybe he's born with it, maybe she's born with it, whatever you identify as. I identify as a cisgender female, so maybe she's born with it. Kind of like maybe she's Maybelline. So that's it with that. So I want to conclude this with a level of note. Finding out who you really are is part of the I am abundance mindset, generating self-love. Then you become more rewarding in your experiences in your life's journey. You begin to understand and go beyond understanding, and those who have not experienced it yet, and begin to each one, reach one, teach one, the illuminated abundance mindset, law of attraction mindset, and begin to put out the energy that you want to receive. So all of that is part of the laws of attraction, part of the laws of layers of building boundaries, resiliency, and then confidence is also being more aligned with who you really are. And part of who I'm aligned with is my I am self, I am. So when we think about that, when you put pound INCC in the comments and things like that, you will always be able to go and enter into the giveaways, and that's why I put INCC as that. So when you hit that hashtag on there and you say INCC, guess what? You may win a prize. And like I told you guys, we are playing the game of life and resiliency, and the journey is on. The levels of recovery is on. The levels of illuminated light is on. So when we think about that, it takes a remarkable almost amount of resources to put up a level of facade. But you don't want to do that, because the real true former self comes out. And then on top of that, immensely energizing self and beginning a level of alignment with your own levels of the Greek word. Know thyself, thou shalt know the God of all the universe. So think about what that means in Christos, I am. So that is it in our self-love presentation and module. I wanted you guys to enjoy that, and I hope I've done well with that. So our April showers bring Mayflowers, and then our Mayflowers are Mayday, a level of breakthrough, one small step. I hope this series has been good for you guys. So we're going to go into boundaries, and we're going to go into how to say no and take control of your life, and begin to look at that work and that framework. So part of what that's all about is a level of boundaries and working through levels of how people grow, how people begin in small groups, how people begin a level layer of raising great kids, and raising great kids for parents to begin to be proud of, and each one reach one, teach one. So this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Well, that was kind of weak, but you know what I'm saying. So when we think about healing ourselves, we have to look at boundaries, and we have to look at all of that. I figured I would do that whole little thing like they did when I used to watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and highlight the different functions of this little light of mine. I'm going to let it shine. So we think about all these different things, and we begin to go and look at what does a boundary look like, understanding boundaries and the 10 laws of boundaries, and begin into common boundary myths and things like that. And then boundaries for your family, boundaries for your friends, boundaries for your spouse, boundaries for your children, boundaries for work, and then in the digital age, boundaries and things like that to make it safe, just like the life has to be safe. And then boundaries in God and boundaries in yourself. So I'm wanting you guys to understand part one is going to be in the levels of boundaries and what they look like, understanding boundaries, the law of boundaries, and then common boundary myths. So we're going to have 4 presentations on that. Then we'll go into the level of, how do I say this in the right way? We'll go into 8 more presentations in part 2 that will help us with a level of boundary conflicts, the things that happen, like with our families, our spouse, and our children, and our workplace, and things like that, and in the digital age, and ourself, and with God, and our spirituality, and things like that. And then we'll go into part 3, which is developing healthy boundaries and beginning to become resistant to boundaries that are degrading or not good for us, or success with boundaries and begin to implement them and become more resilient. So we're going to talk about strategic planning now. So I want you guys to understand all of that and what's going to be going on tomorrow. And then also, when you go to my Etsy, pick up our coloring book, and this is just a bound copy of the coloring book that I have done, and it's for sale. But you will have the actual copy that is bound and with our printers and things like that. So this is a handmade copy, and I want you guys to see it. And it's for children, adolescents, and adults. And this is what the things go to go and be able to put out content and things like that. I'm the one who wrote this book and did this. I wanted you guys to see all of that. I want you to see this for children, adolescents, and adults, and let you guys see all of that. Things that I've written. And so it's going to get to sit down and color and things like that, and I'll be getting these to children over there at the facility and all that, especially when they come in and they're going through a lot of stuff and have something to give them inspiration. So as I build the castle in the sand, it's the beginning of building me a greater foundation of architecture of a greater enlightened vision and version of myself. I let the sand run through my feet. I keep myself grounded. Look at my beautiful brown skin I'm in. I run my fingers through my cheeky, coily hair, and I see a greater light shining in me. So these are different things like that I've written so that you guys can understand why I'm doing that for children. And this is part of Team World Online for children, adolescents, and adults. And this is the actual book. And I want you guys to be able to see what we're doing. And that's where the donations and things go towards, because I create a lot of different things. And that's part of that. And then for my adults and things like that, I'll be doing some more different activity books and helping a level of adults. And I will have this book for all universal for white, black children, Puerto Rican, Dominican, all those different things. And I want you guys to see everything. So I want you guys to see this book that I created, the stuff, the designs, and all that. And I put that all together. So we have things like worthy, honor, valuable, courage, master your universe. And this one is, we are our innermost thoughts. I provide myself with unconditional love. I truly, fully accept me as I am. I live a life of abundance. I am somebody. So I want you guys to see this. These are the things that I create, and this is where the donations go to. This is what I do. So literally I'm doing all these different things for when you come into my office and you get these little books, and I just found my first set of books. So this is my work, hard work that I did, 40 pages plus. I want you guys to see all of that. Here's another one. So when you look in the mirror, you see powerful, worthy, and things like that. So this is for women, children, adolescents, and adults. So whether you're white or black or things like that, it doesn't matter. I'm making sure that everybody's included when it comes to women's empowerment. So these are part of the projects that I've been working on. And then also I have activity books for children. And this is part of my authorship and things that I've been working on and working hard at. And these are all part of the I Am Abundance mindset. And I want you guys to understand that it's important to build that foundation and things like that. And part of that was the resiliency to move past all the embarrassment and begin to do the things that are important. And part of that is beginning to realize that I am somebody. So you may call in live 515-602-9765. Cash Out Love offerings are $IAM Coaching, Don Diva Coaching, Team World Online, or Talk Radio Diva with a Talk Radio Diva CC, Power to Do More. You may call in 515-602-9765, or you may text our line at 404-418-5104, or you may go and do it international. It's 866. 727-9323, and make sure that you guys do that. Make sure you call in live and do all these different things. I want to make sure that I have everything correct for you out there. And then on top of that, make sure you text us, again, 866-727-9323 or 404-418-5104. Leave your email and leave your phone number if you want to be booking for your levels at Team World Online, children, adolescents, and adults, Don Diva Coaching, and IMCC Coaching, or IMCC for your specialty appointment. You're welcome to do that. So thank you so much for attending this live. We've been on an hour, 13 minutes, 9 seconds, and thank you so much for attending. I appreciate all of you guys. So I'm going to take you out of here with a couple different things. And like I said, make sure you go to my Etsy, and that is Fashionista Printable, CC Fashionista. And you may follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you may follow us at IMCC Coaching. And you may follow us at Team World Online. And you may follow us at Don Diva Coaching. And please book your appointments on there. We have bookings for Instagram, Facebook, and we also have it for the website, preferably and then make sure that you do your bookings, inquiries, and things like that. You're welcome to do so, and you're always able to get in touch with me and check their line, and I do not allow trolling. I will report you to authorities if you do so. So I wanted to make sure that we set the stage of professionalism, and then on top of that, have these presentations go on and have safe lives from here on out. Thank you guys for attending. All right. So let me get you on out of here.